Alright, so here's the homework sheet for adding and subtracting rationals. Let's do it together, and then when you need to, press pause. When you need to, you can work with me. So number one, the denominators are the same. Add like terms, we have 12, and then simplify. So 2 goes into 12 6 times, and 3 take away 5, we have 2 more w's in the denominator, and it's done. Again, the denominators are the same, so I keep it the same. 8 subtract 2, 9 subtract 1. I'm going to factor out a 2, be left with 3k plus 4, and then 2 goes into 18 9 times, so the end answer would be 3k plus 4 over 9. Number 3, common denominator. Combine like terms. There are none. Just make sure you're subtracting. Factor. That's a 14, and that's subtracting. So plus 7 and take away 2. And you're left with x subtract 2. Again, we have common denominators. So we're going to add. We're going to add. So be careful there. We're going to do some factoring now. So the numerator, they have a common 4 and a y. And what's left over is y subtract 5. The denominator is the difference of squares. So y plus 5, y take away 5. And then strike out, and you're left with 4y over y plus 5. Number 5, common denominator, so combine like terms. So we're going to write this down, and I know this step, so I'm just going to do it. I'm going to factor the denominator and write it down. So they both have a 10m squared, and what's left over is m plus 6. That's the common denominator and factored. And then 8 subtract 6 is 2m squared, and subtract, be careful here, plus 12m. So factor out a 2m, and then strike out what you can. So m plus 6 strikes out. The m makes the m squared just an m, and 2 goes into 10 5 times. So what's left in the numerator? It's all struck out, so it's 1. And what's left in the denominator is a 5 and an m. Number 6, like denominators. So I'm going to factor that right away. So 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. And 9. So what two numbers multiply to negative 10? Subtract to 9. So it's 10 and negative 1 that fit. Then I'm going to do a substitution. So I'm going to go, instead of 9, I'm going to put in 10 and 1 negative 1v, and then factor by grouping. So the first two have a 5v in common, divide. Negative 1, divide. And now you have it. So when I do a common denominator, I'm going to put in v plus 2. And 5v subtract 1. The numerator, I'm going to combine like terms. So v squared, that's it. Negative 4 subtract 2 is negative 6, and subtract 16. Factor the numerator, that's negative 8 and positive 2. Strike out what you can. And your final answer is v subtract 8 over 5v take away 1. Number 7, unlike denominators. What's the smallest number that 4 and 6 both go into evenly? And that number is 12. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom times 3. The second one I'm going to multiply top and bottom times 2, so the denominators can be the same. So I have 15x plus 12x. And then 12 in the denominator. Is it 12? 2. Why did I say 12? 2. 2x. So 15 plus 2 is 17x over 12. Done. Common denominator. So I look at the, I'm going to rewrite it to have more room. So I look at 8 and 12. they both go into 24 evenly. So first I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 2. And this one will be top and bottom times 3. And then the second thing is, one is an A and one's a B. So the first one needs an A, and the second one needs a B, so that the denominators can be the same. So here I have 2A squared, and here I have 2 times 12, which is 24AB. Here I have 8 times 3, of course, is 24AB, because we made it that way, and then 3B squared. So we have 2A squared minus 3B squared all over 24AB. Now the top might be a difference of squares, but the square root of 2 and the square root of 3 doesn't allow that. And that's it. There's nothing more we can factor in that. No difference of squares, then it's in prime form. Number 9. Doing the homework together. So I want the denominators to be the same. So these are not monomials, so I have to factor first to see what's missing or what needs to be multiplied to make them the same. So I'm going to factor out of 4, and then I'm going to look. So once I factor out of 4, it should be obvious, what does this denominator need that it doesn't have? So it needs 4. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom times 4. So I have 28 plus 12, and then the common denominator is 4n plus 9. 28 plus 12 is 40. And then 4 goes into 40 10 times. So the end answer is 10 over n plus 9. Perfect. Number 10. Common denominators first. I'm also going to factor, well, no, I'm not going to factor it. So I have p squared minus 9p. The denominator is going to be p subtract 9 and p plus 5. So the two numbers that multiply to negative 45 and combine to be negative 4. So when I look at the second fraction, it's obvious it needs a p subtract 9, top and bottom. Now I can combine this together. So I have p squared, negative 9 subtract 2p. So that's negative 11. And then 2 times negative 9 is negative 18. So negative and a negative makes it plus 18. Same denominator. The numerator can factor to negative 9 and negative 2. And then you strike out what matches, and you're left with p subtract 2 and p plus 5. All right, turn the page. The skill to get common denominators. So the first one is prime. The second one, I am going to factor. It's a difference of squares. To make the denominators the same, the first fraction is missing a k subtract 1, top and bottom. Now, we're going to have to FOIL this out. We can, but got to be careful. A binomial times a binomial. You can draw a box, first, outer, inner, last, or make it simple. It's a simple, two simple linears. So that k times k is k squared. 5 take away 1 is 4k. And 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. And again, we have a common denominator of k subtract 1 and k plus 1. Now we still have adding 8 on this side that we still need to do. So if I put it together, I have k squared plus 4k plus 3, k subtract 1, k plus 1. Now, what's left over? You can factor further. So what two numbers multiply to 3 and add to 4? So that's 1 and 3. And then strike out the common factor. So they match, k plus 1, and you're left with k plus 3 and k subtract 1. Done. Number 12, common denominator. So step 1 is to factor. So they have a 2 and a w in common. Leaves me with 4w take away 3. So it needs a 4w take away 3, top and bottom. Now the denominators are the same. So now combine like terms. So 22 take away 12 is 10. 11. Now this is 3 times 3, that's 9. Now a negative and a negative is going to be plus 9. So 11 plus 9 is 20. Factor out a 10 to C. So the only thing that's going to factor out are the 2 and the 10, I think. So the 2 makes the 10 a 5. So your final answer would be 5. W plus 2, and in the denominator you have W, 4W take away 3, and you did it. Number 12. So first one's prime. The second one is going to be a difference of squares, so it's 2x plus 5, 2x take away 5. And then what does the denominator need that it doesn't have, that the other one has, is 2x plus 5, top and bottom. So now the denominators are the same. So I got 2x squared plus 5x. And then I am subtracting 4x plus 15. And make sure that when you subtract, it belongs to both. So I have 2x squared plus 1x take away 15. So the numerator can be factored further. So 2 times negative 15 is negative 30 and 1. So that's 6 and negative 5. So if I do a substitution of 6 and negative 5 and then factor out what they have in common, I can see what the factors are. So when I write this over again, I'm going to write x plus 3, 2x take away 5. The denominator is 2x plus 5, 2x take away 5. So strike out and you have your answer. All right, number 14. So step 1, I need to factor this. So I see it's 3 times 8 is, I'll do that over here, is 24 and 14. So the two numbers that multiply to 24 and add to 14 are 12 and 2. So I'm going to do a substitution. So on the side here, I'm going to take out the 14 and put in 12 and 2. And then take the first 2 and the second 2, and now it's factored. So I'm going to rewrite right here. So I have 8a take away 18, and factored, that is a plus 4, 3a plus 2. Here I have 7 and 3a plus 2. So what it needs that it doesn't have is an a plus 4. Top and bottom. Now the denominators are the same. So 8a plus 7a is 15a. Negative 18. 7 times 4 is 28. So 28 take away 18 is 10. Same denominator. Factor out of 5. And then strike out what matches. So your end answer is 5 over a plus 4. All right, 4 more to get your homework done and practice with me. Try it first, then press play. So I need the denominators to be the same. 4, I need to understand the denominator is 1. To make them the same, I'm going to take the denominator, the other denominator, and multiply top and bottom by it. The second one, if I multiply top and bottom times 1, you can do that if you want, but notice the denominators now are the same. So 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 8 is 32. Take away 5 is 27. And the common denominator, you could factor it just to see if there's a common factor to strike out, but there's not. Number 16. Again, both denominators are prime, so the only way to get common denominators is to take the other denominator and multiply top and bottom. So I'm going to take 5 top and bottom. And for the second one, I'm going to take c subtract 4 top and bottom. So I take the other denominator and use it to create a common denominator. So 3 times 5 is 15. Negative 2. Well, here, I'll just do it in 2 steps here. 2 times c and 2 times negative 4. You've got to be really careful with signs here. So when I write this as one fraction, we have a common denominator, c subtract 4 times 5. That can be in the front or back. 15 take away 2 is 13, and when you subtract a negative, it's plus 8. Done. Nothing else. You could also write that as 13c plus 8 and put the 5 in front if it makes you more comfortable. But there's no common factor, nothing that's going to strike out here. It's prime. 17. Same technique. The denominators are both prime. So we're going to take the one denominator, top and bottom. Take the other denominator, top and bottom. So we now have common denominators. So the one common denominator is v plus 4, v take away 6. So 6v minus 36, 2v plus 8. So combine them together. So that's 8v minus 28. So the top is factorable. So 4 goes into both. So you have 2v take away 7. But that doesn't match with anything in the denominator. So it's prime. All right, one last left before your quiz. Practicing. I'm proud of you that you practiced the homework sheet so you can do well on your quiz. Get this. So one more time. So here, I want to common denominator. So it's factorable. It's not prime. So I'm going to factor what I see. So negative 2 and negative 4, difference of squares. So we need these to be the same, the denominators. So what does the second denominator have that the first one needs that it doesn't have? So it needs r subtract 4, top and bottom. And the second one that it doesn't have is an r plus 2, top and bottom. Now they match. So now you have r squared, negative 4r, and you have r plus 2. So we have r plus 2, r take away 2, r take away 4. So now we're going to combine like terms in the numerator. So once we have a common denominator, just write it over again. Order doesn't matter because you're multiplying. But the numerator, I needed to distribute and now combine like terms. So I have r squared minus 3r plus 2. So that's factorable. So now, when I factor out the numerator, the two numbers that multiply to 2 and add to negative 3 are negative 1 and negative 2. Is there a factor that strikes out, that matches? So r subtract 2 strikes out. So our final answer is r subtract 1, and in the denominator is r plus 2, r take away 4, like a pirate. All right, r. You finished your homework. Mr. G Math, over and out.